Yeah, you know what? It was a great day yesterday. Thanks to John Casablancas for making us look like a Romulan. Today, I'm foregoing the wig and maybe thinking about a hat. Rachel from the Granville Island Hat Company. We're making hats here, and you've been doing this for a lot of years and still very popular fashion trend.
Yeah, you know, people just seem to keep coming back every year. I mean, it's something that you can really invest in and enjoy for years because the styles just never go out. It's just a matter of maybe changing a color or a little bit of trimming.
And let's talk about the process. What are these?
These are hat blocks. So you can see here we've got two quite different looking blocks, not only in shape but also in age. This one is a vintage block, so this one's been around and has produced a lot of beautiful hats in its time. And this is a new block, so you can see that it maybe hasn't had quite as many hats shaped on it, but we're definitely hoping to change that.
This one's actually almost like a little puzzle.
Yeah, this one is really neat. The hat is, the felt is blocked over pulled down over the block, and then once it's cooled and it's shaped, then we can just, we actually take the whole thing off and remove these pieces from the bottom.
I love it. Now here's the felt that we're talking about. Is that pretty much the typical material of most hats?
Yeah, unless it's a fabric pattern hat, but mostly the blocked hats will always be made from felt. So it's really just a matter of choosing your color.
And then we get to this process that MJ is working on.
Yeah, and this is where it all starts actually. So the key to felt is steam really, and it's just really like cleaning your hands once you get the right amount of steam.
So what's she doing right now? She's basically shaping it?
No, she's actually just getting that hood ready to be pulled down over the block.
Which we can do right now, MJ. Here's the block right now, and she is basically trying to make it look what will be
exactly
an obvious hat.
It'll look just like this block did before she pulled the felt over it. So it's just a matter of really getting it on there tight, pulling it down, smoothing it out, and tying it off.
Fantastic.
And then,
that's just part of the process. We're going to continue on with our hat making process here at the Granville Island Hat Company, where they also do custom work. For more details, you can go to their website. Hey, and yes, it's the art of hat making. So MJ is continuing to block her hat. Coming up after the break, it's all about the trimming here at the Granville Island Hat Company. Stay with us. You're watching BT. We're going to talk about the best hats for your head shape coming up a little bit later, but I love it when they play the Leave Your Hat On song because you definitely don't want to take off these beautiful hats. Rachel, we've got MJ still blocking. How long is it going to take her to finish that?
That could take anywhere 3 to 4 to 5 hours, depending on how much time and love she puts into it.
And it is a little bit like working with clay. You are artists here when you make these kinds of hats.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really a lot of love goes into each one, and it's really a personal connection. And so we want to make sure they go to a good home, someone who's really going to love it as much as we do.
Well, we've got some great options here. Let's talk about the next stages once it's been blocked.
Right, so once it's blocked, then we trim any excess felt there is. And the next stage is actually sewing the wire in to secure the brim of the hat. So you can see here, we've just kind of shown you, we've got the wire here and it's pinned into the place where you'd want the natural fall of the brim to be.
And then we've got all these other, I called them accoutrements, but really, I mean, it takes me back to my home ec days. They're notions.
Notions, yeah, absolutely. That's our favorite word around here. And this is the fun part. I mean, this is, I've heard people describe it as the icing on the cake, literally. So once you have your blocked piece, it's not trimmed yet, you can really get into the fun stuff. And that's really deciding what you want the detail of the hat to look like. So whether you use some grosgrain or some feathers, we've also got some really beautiful vintage appliques.
Where do you get them, these things?
Oh, all over the world, really. We do lots of searching, and we find little suppliers that are nestled in Australia or England, just to try and find some stuff that's unique and special. So we've got some vintage veiling here, and this stuff is really hard to come by.
And everything is hand stitched, so when you look at something like this, there's a lot of real manual labor that happens here.
Absolutely, a lot of invisible stitching on that applique, because the goal is right so that you see it, but you don't see any of the stitching, and that's actually the magic of it.
The magic of it. We've just seen a bit of a taste of it here, Thor, at the Granville Island Hat Shop. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to make our way down into the shop. They've got a great restoration process as well, ways that you can kind of rejuvenate what you might already have or perhaps what's been passed down through the generations.
Excellent, Dawn. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. We're here at the Granville Island Hat Shop. Coming up after the break, ways that they can restore a hat that you might already own, perhaps one that's been passed down from someone that you love of days gone by, and also how to properly care for your hat to extend its life. Stay with us. You're watching BT on this Friday morning. And you know what? Hats have definitely made a resurgence. We're getting into that type of weather where people are choosing hats. It's a great option for people.
Absolutely, especially living in Vancouver.
Yeah, and we've got great ways for you to care for your hat in a moment. But what happens when someone, maybe gets a hand-me-down from their grandma or great-grandma?
Yeah, this happens a lot, and often it's a really emotional connection to the piece, so they really want to make sure that they can keep it and love it and wear it in a lot of cases, but maybe it's not the right size for them, or maybe it just needs a little bit of love. So we've got a couple of options, but normally when people bring a hat into us, the first thing we'll start with is making sure the sizing is correct, and that's where this lovely piece of equipment comes in. This is our beloved hat stretcher. It's been with us and we'll never part with it, and it's somewhere between 100 and 150 years old, so it's something that can't be replaced. And the great thing about this is that it allows us to take a hat from the size that it's currently at anywhere to a size or two up from that.
Which is perfect because some people are half sizes.
Absolutely, and even with the new hats, it allows us to really customize a fit for someone when they come in.
And so can you actually make something a bit smaller too, or is it mostly?
We can.
Okay.
Yeah, we have techniques for that too.
Okay.
They don't involve this, but yeah, we definitely have ways with a couple of little tuck stitches or even a little bit of hat sizing foam that we can make that work.
And something like this that you might fix up, you actually possibly have to reblock it.
Yeah, and in this case, we wouldn't have the original block because this is a vintage piece. So a lot of it then comes from just looking at the hat and knowing what the original shape was and working a lot by hand.
Let's talk about proper care of hat. I mean, you can get sprays that will help protect your hat, but obviously in the olden days you didn't. So how should you properly store your hat?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that people really don't realize about hats is that they're a lot more durable than they think. Even in this weather, I mean, when men would wear a hat, they'd wear the same hat for years in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and they didn't have a water-based protector then to spray on their hat. So the key is just making sure that if the hat does really get wet, that it's put in a place to dry properly. So either on a hook, ideally, or making sure that it's stored on the crown. And the key with that is just that you don't want the brim to get too deformed.
And this is a good hat option for someone like Riaz. Most guys could go with this kind of hat.
The nice low crown, medium brim fedora tends to be a good fit for just about anybody.
Fantastic. Well, Riaz, we're here again at the Granville Island Hat Shop. We've got more ideas on what works for your basic face. We're talking women's hats coming up just after 8:30 as well.
Like that star right there. I got to go check out that store.
The other night when I was working the game, we had a number of BT viewers that came and said hi, but specifically I was asked by John to say hi to his wife, Stacey Russell. She watches breakfast television every morning, so sorry I forgot yesterday, we were so busy, but a good morning to Stacey Russell from your husband, John, who had a chance to say hi at the game. Yeah, thanks very much. We're here at the Granville Island Hat Shop. And Rachel, like, I've always been one of those people that always admire people like you that look great in a hat, but I never think it's going to work for me.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of people when they come through the door. They always say, you know what, I don't look good in hats. I've never found one that fits me right. And I would say 9 times out of 10, we're able to find something that really works for someone, and they leave quite happy with a new hat.
So let's talk about what the key considerations are.
Okay. The first thing I always look at is your jawline, especially on women. If you have softer features, if you have a really petite jawline, typically the cloche looks really, really nice on you. The only thing you want to make sure is that you don't get too large of a brim, because that can sometimes be overpowering if you have really petite features.
And when I look at something like that, I think, gee, am I going to have to dress more classic?
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely not. I think you can really wear this every day. We see women that come in year after year and buy this to wear with just like a traditional wool coat.
And then just take it off when
Exactly.
they take off their outerwear. What about something like this?
Now, this is the kind of style that works much better for someone that's got my type of a jawline. I've got sharper lines to my jaw, so I need something that is going to balance that out. So usually a blocked crown versus an open crown is going to work better for me.
Now, some of these appear a little bit fancier. Of course, you could probably still dress more casual, but let's talk real casual. What is a good go-to for most people?
Well, we're big fans of Lily and Coho here at the shop. This is a line that's made in Nelson, BC, so it's local, which is great, and it's like a traditional, perfect Vancouver hat. It's wool, so it's great in the rain, and it's really a beautiful fabric that is also very casual.
And something a little dressier, Riaz. She says the fedora also perfect for women as well. Likely you'll find something existing in the shop here. If you're sort of considering a hat, they also do a ton of custom work, Riaz, which actually price-wise might not be as much as you think. For more details, you can go to their website, but I'm thinking the hat. Might start going for hats, Riaz.
You know what? She rocks the hat right there. All right, there's the hashtag. Good little shop down in Granville Island. Claire, Noel, what do you think of the hats?